Good afternoon and welcome. Hi everybody, my name is Rachel Corney and I am an undergraduate research assistant with the STAR initiative, which stands for Supporting Transformative Autism Research. Thanks for joining us today for our discussion with Dr. Bill Therrien about his crowdsourcing research. Welcome, Bill.
Thanks, happy to be here.
Dr. Therrien is a special education professor and coordinator of the Research and Practice Group for the STAR initiative. He has extensive experience designing and evaluating academic programming for students with autism, particularly in the areas of science, reading, and written expression. His published work addresses academic programming for at-risk students, students with autism, and those with learning disabilities. Dr. Therrien joins us today to talk about his current crowdsourcing research project. So can you start by telling us a bit more about that project?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think this is kind of a unique project in the area of autism and working in the schools. You know, primarily when we think of research being conducted, it's often one researcher with one school, or maybe even one group of students in one class that we're investing in, let's say, a reading intervention and whether it's effective or not. And so what we do with crowdsourcing research is, instead of trying to answer that question on our own, we work with researchers and schools and parents and students across the country to see if we can investigate that question. And what that allows us to do is it gives us an opportunity to work with a large range of individuals with autism and others with disabilities, so we can try to ascertain pretty quickly whether something's effective.
Nice. So how can you help people kind of figure out which research is evidence-based? Because it might be difficult since it's different.
That's a great question. So so first of all, you want to look at an intervention that has some kind of empirical base. It's had studies that have been conducted. And then we want to look for interventions that have been studied over a long period of time by many different researchers and with a large group of individuals. And so if we're looking at an intervention and we get a certain effect, let's say it's a reading intervention for kids with autism, and we get significant effects, I find out that the program works, and then it's implemented by others with a variety of different types of children across the country. Over time, we get that replication, and we can start to feel confident that an intervention is effective. For research consumers, there's opportunities to go out and find sites that have aggregated research information and talks about potentially effective practices, such as the What Works Clearinghouse, which is an arm of the Institute of Education Sciences that's run out of our federal government. So if a program is effective, then we would expect and predict that it would be found to be effective multiple times over and over and over. So unfortunately, it's very rare to have a program conduct a study one time and then say, okay, this is evidence-based. What we really need to do is to do the hard work of implementing studies over and over again across a wide group of students and other researchers in order to determine what's effective.
So can you talk a little bit more about the process of collecting this data and how it could be democratized?
Sure. So this is why I really like what I do, and I like working for STAR and the research and practice, because we call it research and practice. The group that I'm in is because we're not just bringing research into schools and other organizations that are working with individuals with autism. We're actually working with the teachers and practitioners in order to see whether what they're doing is effective. Or we're looking for problems of practice going into a classroom, let's say into a second grade classroom that has students with autism, and they're trying to improve, let's say, their written expression. And we're saying, okay, what can we design and develop for these particular group of students that might be effective? So the great thing with what we do is we're coming up with research questions, we're designing programs, and we're implementing them to see that if they're successful in that particular environment. So we often start with that kind of development process where we say, okay, we want to know how to work on, let's say, this particular academic skills, what have other people done, and then let's modify it for this group. And then what crowdsourcing gets us to do is, once we have a program that we want to actually implement, is we can crowdsource it out to our other researchers throughout the country, and they can go ahead and implement it and see if it's successful across different states and across different teachers, if we're using teachers as the implementer. And so what it basically does is takes that research process and puts it on steroids. So it could take one researcher, a particular researcher, if they're the only one looking at an intervention, it could take them a whole career to aggregate enough evidence to show that something is an evidence-based practice. But using crowdsourcing and using applied research, we can do that in a relatively short period of time. So we can go from developing a reading intervention, determining if it's initially effective with our group of students in our, let's say in the Charlottesville area, and then we crowdsource and do a study across the country, and then within a year we could have 5,000 students that have actually engaged with our particular program, and then we can determine whether it's successful, and even more importantly, who it's successful for, and make modifications to ensure that we're helping all students.
Yeah, definitely, it's very important. Jumping off of that, how would this affect or matter to individuals with autism and their families specifically? How do you plan to target them?
So that's at the forefront of everybody at STAR, including myself. So I'm primarily an academic interventionist, and individuals with autism oftentimes have strengths, particularly in the area of science and scientific reasoning, but they're often not fully included in science instruction in the general education classroom, and they can particularly have difficulty with learning the scientific process and engaging in, let's say, scientific experiments. So one of our goals is to harness those strengths and those interests. So those individuals with autism that have interest in science, and figuring out how we can utilize that to provide them with effective instruction so that they can thrive in scientific careers. So our work, pretty much across STAR, and certainly in research and practice, is to define areas where we don't have much research, where we're not sure exactly how to help individuals with autism and their parents and their teachers, and then focus our efforts on that applied work to make a difference in their lives. In this case, when I think about science intervention, it's helping them within school that hopefully opens up doors for them to pursue post-secondary education or other careers in STEM fields in science, technology, engineering, and math.
Yeah, so it sounds like this project will help kind of in the long term and help try to find these interventions that are most beneficial to students with autism specifically, or just in special education. How will this research kind of be applied to practical everyday life?
That really is what we're looking at. So as anecdotal information, when I was a special education teacher, I often found that individuals with disabilities and individuals with autism were often actually excluded from science classrooms. They weren't necessarily engaging with regular science content. Sometimes they were pulled out and provided supplemental reading instruction or math instruction during science time. Oftentimes just the science that was provided wasn't very engaging. It tended to be long lists of vocabulary words and not having students engage with the exciting part of science, which is the hands-on experimental part of it. So it's practical in the sense that I want to create science instruction. If we're talking about science instruction, which the crowdsourcing study that we're working on now is, that's engaging for all students, but particularly for students with autism and disabilities, so that they can learn that content and they can learn the scientific process. And what that allows them to do, first and foremost, it could end up being a career path that they're going to take. They might decide that they're really interested in it. But even if they're not, basic critical thinking skills can be taught during science that are important to just everyday life, and being a citizen of our country and be able to look at problems that would come along in someone's life and think about them critically and come to a decision that makes sense based off of their needs. So it's all about enhancing quality of life for the individuals with autism and their families.
Yeah, that's great. I think it's really important to make sure that all students have equal opportunity and have opportunities to learn. So thank you so much for sharing about your research. We're about out of time. So if any of our viewers have questions about this presentation, please feel free to email us at star-autism@virginia.edu. You can also sign up for our STAR monthly newsletter by clicking the link at the bottom of the screen. So thanks so much, Dr. Therrien, for sharing more about your research with us today.
You bet. Thanks, Rachel. I appreciate it.
And to all of our viewers, we hope to see you next time.